Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. Today is part 2 of the way too early 2025 fantasy rankings. We will be going over the wide receivers and tight ends today. If you missed part 1 last week, make sure you go back and check it out. We did the quarterbacks and running backs last week. With that being said, make sure you subscribe for more and we'll get straight into it. All right, getting into the wide receiver rankings. Some no-brainers here at the top. We got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those top 5 are in a tier of their own to me. Jamar, obviously coming off the Triple Crown. I think whether T. Higgins signs with them or not, he's going to be in line to do the same thing again if they choose to. Justin Jefferson, talent is undeniable. We'll have to see where the quarterback is, but really it hasn't mattered so far. With Darnold, with Kirk Cousins, Jefferson's putting up numbers and obviously a fun player to watch. Puka Nacua, he's the guy who could really change the most throughout this offseason, whether Stafford stays or goes, whether Cooper Kupp stays or goes. Obviously big factors, but if Kupp leaves but Stafford stays, Puka's ceiling is as high as anyone's. So for now, I've respected that and put him in the 3 spot. Nico, obviously coming off massive seasons, hampered by injuries last year, but I think him and CJ Stroud are really going to do something special this year. Nico is a huge target and easily could get 10, 12 touchdowns on top of his obvious possession receiver value. And then Amon-Ra is the ultimate possession receiver, good for 6, 7, 8 catches a game, and it has really turned into a touchdown guy himself. He had like a touchdown in 7, 8 straight games last year. Really a stud coming into his own. These next 2 guys were guys that we touted highly last year. We'll see how this situation presents itself this year, but that'll be CD Lamb and Tyreek Hill. Obviously, Dallas and Miami, both teams coming off upsetting seasons, but still 2 studs in the game. We'll really see where they are shaking out at the end of the offseason, but talent is undeniable. You got to put them in this wide receiver 1 territory. And then a few younger guys to round out these top 10. Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Drake London. All guys coming off of huge seasons. All guys with talent and upside to the moon. Brian Thomas, obviously, a little bit of question marks with Trevor Lawrence. And then Malik Neighbors, big question marks at quarterback. We don't know where the Giants are going. We assume they'll draft, but that'll be to be determined. And then Drake London showed really good chemistry with Michael Penix. Earned a huge target share when Penix was the quarterback. So London should be in line for another great season. Copper here from the beach. Make sure you subscribe for Thick Cup Bacon! Getting straight into that next grouping, we got T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, and Rashee Rice. I love Rashee Rice. He's coming off a pretty major injury, so we'll see if he stays this high in my rankings. But I wanted to give him the respect early, just because I think he is a true talent, and you're pairing him with Patrick Mahomes. So he had that Kelsey role while he was playing, where he was just getting everything over the middle. It's super fun to watch. And then I'm a big T. Higgins guy as well. I really don't mind if he signs back with Cincy. I think that would be great. And then I think there's other teams out there that we could really see what his true ceiling is. I don't know if he'll thrive better as that wide receiver 1 in a new team, or the obviously talented wide receiver 2 with Jamar Chase taking all the coverage from him. And then Garrett Wilson, we'll have to see what the Jets do at quarterback. But Garrett Wilson is an unreal talent. I don't think we've seen his full potential yet. Really excited to see what the Jets do. And then moving on, we've got A.J. Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and DJ Moore. A.J. Brown, really a little bit low for him. We just haven't seen the passing volume out of Philadelphia for, at least last year, but definitely a couple of years before as well. They really want to lean on that running game, grind out, drain the clock with Saquon and Jalen Hurts. So until we see that passing volume increase, I just can't raise A.J. Brown too much. And then we saw Jackson Smith-Njigba really go off last year, take that alpha role away from DK. We'll see if that continues. We'll see if Geno remains the quarterback in Seattle. If so, he has a very good right to move up these rankings. And then DJ Moore, I really like DJ Moore. For some reason, I feel like he's a very talented guy. And that chemistry with Caleb Williams, I think, is only going to get better. I think he's got a good season in line. And then the old guy, Mike Evans, man, he just keeps doing it. 1,000 yards every season. Obviously a touchdown scorer. You got to keep him up here until proven otherwise, although he feels just so old. Got to give him the respect. Moving on, Ladd obviously showed huge things his rookie season. I think another guy who's only going to get better with his quarterback, Justin Herbert. I think their chemistry will remain strong, and I think big season in line for Ladd. To round out the top 20, we got Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf. Terry, another guy who's working with a rookie quarterback, much like DJ Moore was. I'd like to think their chemistry just continues to get better. We'll see. I don't know if, obviously the touchdown regression will probably be there. He probably won't get 13 touchdowns again, but we'll see how he's used coming next season. And then DK is a tough one for me. I really think he's a strong talent. Rumor is he might get traded. I highly doubt it, but I don't know. Something about DK, it's just a little inconsistent for me. Much like Kyler is at quarterback, he's who I think of as DK at receiver. Just never consistent. You don't know what game you're going to get, and he's easily checked out of a game if he's not getting the ball. Kind of a typical wide receiver diva, fitting the stereotype. Moving on is a grouping of guys who have a few more question marks, but obviously talented guys. We got Cortland Sutton and Chris Olave. Sutton coming off a good season with Bo Nix first season together. I really think they should just really kick it into high gear, and Sutton should remain a top 20 guy at this point. Olave, a really up and down season. Really actually wasn't that great when he was playing. Derek Carr, quarterback, is really underwhelming, so we'll see if that changes. Hard to be high on Olave at this point, especially with injuries. He might be one concussion away from being done. And then Marvin Harrison, huge expectations coming into the last season. Didn't quite, pan out. We'll see if that improves this year. I expect it will some. Really doesn't have a target share besides Trey McBride to battle with. And the talent's really undeniable as well. Moving on, George Pickens. We really just need to see who's at quarterback. If they re-sign Russ, that'd be home run for Pickens. If it's Fields or someone else, we kind of have to see. He might move down the rankings if that's the case. And then Devontae Adams, another guy we have to see what the situation is. I'm sure he and Rodgers will just find somewhere another town to ruin with a play style that's just no longer, good in the league. But that's a story for another time. We'll see where Devontae Adams ends up. And then Zay Flowers, a PPR stud. Other formats he drops down for me, but as long as he remains Baltimore's number one, he's going to be right here in this 20 to 27 range. And then Godwin, coming off the injury, we'll see where he ends up. I really think he's going to play a strong role if he gets back with Tampa Bay. They want to sign him back, obviously. He's been huge to their team. We'll see if they can make that work. If not, another team could really be exciting change for Godwin. And then Addison, really strong season last year. Again, we have to see who Minnesota ends up with quarterback. And then Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp. Smith, same reasoning for A.J. Brown. The passing volume just isn't there to really support the two receivers and make them higher values in fantasy. And then we just have to see where Cooper Kupp ends up. But honestly, outside of his Triple Crown season, he really hasn't been great. I know that's crazy to say. He's giving me the vibes of Raheem Mostert last season, coming off the 23 touchdowns. You want to give him the respect because he's done it, but unsure if he still has it. That's where I'm at with Cooper Kupp, as sad as it is to say. And then moving on, this is our last grouping for now. Like I said in last week's video, there's no rookies in these. So once they're kind of drafted and find their teams and their places, we'll iron out the rankings. A lot of young guys in this one, guys who I think could have good seasons, like Xavier Worthy, Jameson Williams, Darnell Mooney, all young guys, all in great situations with great offenses. Could really see them booming and playing well above their current ranking. Stephon Diggs coming off the ACL, might have to drop him down a little bit. We'll see where he's progressing come this offseason. It was like a week 7 ACL tear, but he's a little bit older, so we'll kind of see. He might have to move down the rankings. Also, I believe he's a free agent, so we'll see what team he ends up with. Same deal with Ayuk coming off the ACL. Those guys are very likely to end up moving down the rankings just based off of availability, and ACL is a major injury. Waddle is the guy I'm very weary of. In my opinion, he's a great talent, but in that current Miami offense, his talents aren't being used properly. We really need to see if there's any changes. But if there is no changes, we can't fall for, just his talent alone. If nothing changes, then we can't expect change. Moving on, a couple of guys who just you never feel like amazing about for whatever reason, and Juwan Jennings and Jacoby Myers, but they've been just putting up numbers and you cannot deny it. Juwan Jennings, obviously with Ayuk and out, was amazing. Really took over the wide receiver one role over Debo. Debo's just not the route runner that Jennings is. We'll have to see if that remains the same, what the situation is, but Jennings and Jacoby Myers are guys that you just don't think of as highly talented receivers, but they just keep producing in fantasy. We'll see who Las Vegas ends up with quarterback. I think Jacoby Myers could really, really be an interesting guy this year, depending who the quarterback is. And then the guy I just mentioned, Debo Samuel. Talk about a fall off. I try not to overreact to that, but you really can't avoid it at this point. We'll have to see if he stays with San Fran. If so, I don't think much will change. With McCaffrey coming back, they obviously like Jennings a whole lot. I don't know if he has a role there, at least not a huge fantasy one. So we'll see if he ends up getting traded to a team where he can use his talents a little more. As you probably noticed, I filmed this video prior to the Debo trade, so I'll give my quick initial thoughts on that now. Debo going to the Commanders, I think probably is honestly one of the better fits for him. A Cliff Kingsbury offense that likes to run lots of short passing game, lots of screens. I could see Debo getting 2-3 screens a game. I really think he could be utilized with his skill set like he was in San Fran for a while there. As far as what that leaves in San Fran, I think there's plenty of balls to go around still. Kittle, McCaffrey. I think Juwan Jennings gets a huge boost from this deal. I think that opens up things a little bit more for San Fran. We'll see if they add any pieces. I imagine they could, but I really like the deal from all sides, honestly. Don't forget to subscribe to the boy. He needs his thick cut bacon, you guys. And then lastly, a guy that's kind of forgotten about, Jerry Jeudy. We really need to see who the quarterback is. With Jameis, he looked amazing. That gunslinger type. So we'll see if they draft a gunslinger or re-sign Jameis for that matter. But, very volatile situation in Cleveland for Jerry Jeudy, who a guy I really liked his talent coming out of Alabama. And then he gave you nothing in Denver, but had a solid season last year, obviously. So he's a guy I'm very, confused about right now. Very good chance he could move up depending on the quarterback situation. All right, we're going to move on to the tight end rankings. These are a little more, straightforward. There's an obvious tier of guys that are very solid, and then it drops off quick, and I mean quick. So, the top two, I think, are going to be a tier of their own for me. Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. People are going to be like, how can you not have Bowers as your number one coming out? I still believe in McBride. I had him in my head. He was going to be a top 1 or 2 tight ends last year. He ended up tight end 3 just because he doesn't score touchdowns. That's a couple of years in a row now, so that's becoming a pattern. I really am interested to see if he can increase that touchdowns. He would obviously be a massive tight end value. And then Brock Bowers, again, same idea as Jacoby Myers. We have to see who becomes quarterback there, but he's going to be a stud no matter what. And then the next grouping is the old firm: George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Jonnu Smith, T.J. Hawkinson. Jonnu's a little newer to the stud game. He's a guy, if nothing changes in Miami, would obviously be good for him. He had a huge season last year, getting all the dump downs. It became the Jonnu and the Achane show. So if nothing changes, that'd be huge for Jonnu. Kittle's a beast, gonna remain that way. Same with Mark Andrews. And then Hawkinson, another year removed from the ACL. I really think he'll have a very solid year. The kind of TJ Hawkinson-like season we're used to him having. And then Laporta, same deal. There's a lot of weapons in Detroit. I think he's going to be solid. He's going to be fine. I don't think he's going to be the rookie Sam Laporta that we saw. I could be wrong, but I just think he's going to be in this next tier for the time being until the situation changes a little bit. And then obviously, as respect thing, I have to have Travis Kelce at least in the top 8. He did officially announce he'll be back for this season, but he looked old and slow, to be quite frank. And he is old. So we'll see how that goes. I expect with Rashee Rice back, his role will even get smaller. So we'll see. And then to round out the top 10, we have Tucker Kraft, Evan Ingram. Green Bay is a bit of a crowded area, but Tucker Kraft kept putting up numbers, so we got to respect that. And then Evan Ingram, when healthy, PPR guy. Obviously, in other formats, he drops down, but him and Trevor Lawrence seem to have a good connection, so we got to respect that for the time being. And then to round it out, to our last grouping here, we got David Njoku, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, all guys in situations where it seems nothing is changing. We'll kind of see if their role is any different, but I expect them just to be similar to what they did last year. And then Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry, Pat Freiermuth, all guys who are going to be solid enough. I think Hunter Henry, honestly, out of the three, has the biggest chance to really have a boom season with Drake May kind of coming into his own. I know he really likes to target the tight ends. Hunter Henry is getting a little bit older, but of the three, I would expect Hunter Henry to have the most boom potential. And then to round it out, we have Cole Kmet, Cade Otton, and Dalton Schultz. All guys that, you don't love drafting tight ends this late, but they should have decent enough roles that you'd feel okay about them in fantasy. I think Kmet with Caleb Williams could really be a potential home run, but Caleb just hasn't seemed to like hitting the tight ends at this point. And then you already know what you're getting from the other guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. That was part 2 of the Way Too Early 2025 Fantasy Football Rankings. Make sure you comment down below a player you're higher or lower on. Make sure you subscribe for more content. And thank you guys so much for watching. One last word from Copper. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you subscribe so we can get some thick cut bacon. Thank you.